In a world. That's a bit much. In a city. I wish. In a basement, in the middle of nowhere, in approximately an hour to an hour and a half, two nerdy nerds get uncomfortably sweaty as they welcome you to... Hello and welcome to...
That was three words in.
Baby, I'm back.
Hey, you are.
Baby, I'm back. I didn't mess it up last time. Welcome to Creativity in Progress, where we talk about creativity in a podcast. This is...
You were so close. Well, close-ish. Close-ish.
I forgot my name.
I'm going to count the takes, how many times it takes.
Count the takes, all right. Take one. Hello and welcome to Creativity in
One, take what?
Oh, for crying out loud. The line is... Creativity in Progress. Hello and welcome to Creativity in Progress, where we talk about creativity in a podcast. My name is Nathan Beatty, and here with me I have...
Ethan Murphy, Nathan's best friend.
Hello, Ethan. How you doing today? But before you answer, I also have...
Hello, everyone. It's Mick.
Mick!
Mick's in the house.
We have Mick here. We have Mick here. It is so excited. He's actually in studio. And yeah, so welcome, Mick. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's great to be in the studio with you guys. Finally get to see where you've been making all this magic happen.
Yeah, magic. Yeah.
Okay, now you can answer the question. How are you doing, Ethan?
Is the gain? Are the gains all right? The gains good?
Oh yeah, got the gain, got the levels, the bane of my existence levels. I've got.
Oh, the levels are straight. Okay, all right. Come closer, Nate. Come closer.
Okay,
come closer. Okay, let's look.
I'm good. Yes, he's very good. He's very good, and my ears are bleeding.
Yes. Now Nathan Beatty Jr. the third. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. I'm really excited to have Mick here. Of course,
yes.
I am too. Yeah.
Yes, the legendary Mick Van Winkle.
Yes. And also I'm excited because of our topic today. Tell us about our topic.
Yes, and before I do, real quick, I know we've had Mick on the show, I think 13, maybe 17 times, but I don't know if we ever made it very clear that the actual reason this show exists at all actually is because of Mick. It was originally Mick's true inception came from Mick, where Mick had the idea for us to do, he asked me, he said, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, sure, I guess that sounds like something fun to do. And he said, well, do you know anybody that would be good at that? And the first name that came to mind was of course, Nathan Beatty Jr. III, a.k.a. Oracle, a.k.a. Sergey. And that was how it got going. So Mick is actually the reason you have this sound in your ears is all because of Mick. And we are sorry. We apologize, but it's his fault.
Well, you guys are the ones that make this all happen, though. I mean, deeds, not words, if I remember correctly. So
yes, that's in the Bible somewhere.
Exactly.
But as you were saying, Nate, before I interrupted you.
Yes. Well, I was asking you to tell us about what the topic is today.
Oh, so I interrupted myself.
Yes, you digressed yourself.
I digressed from nice. It's a digression within digression. That's a full-blown inception, Mr. Nolan. So today's topic is in fact trailers. More specifically, movie trailers. I guess we might get into TV trailers as well, but dealing with theatrical trailers. And theatrical trailers, the reason we're talking about this today with Mick, as far as Mick being our, I think, fourth or fifth in-studio guest, the reason we decided to have this as the topic with Mick is because that is how I initially met Mick, I believe about 4 years ago. I wanted to have a trailer made for my original comic book, Slade and Ash. And a mutual friend of ours named Josh introduced Mick and I because Josh knew that Mick had the abilities to do, he had done a whole bunch of video editing. And so he seemed the most likely candidate to actually handle that kind of a job. Mick did a great job editing. He's done several trailers for me now, about 12 or so trailers or videos. So that's how we met. And so we thought, why not go ahead and have the expert on making trailers discuss trailers with us?
Hardly the expert, mostly self-taught. The stuff I was doing before I started the Splice stuff together for you was mostly just for fun. And then getting the right equipment to put things together and to do some mixing and show you different things that I was capable of doing. And I look back at the first one that I did for you, and I go, man, that was a mess, a hot mess of
you
mess.
think so.
And then looking at where we're at now and what we're able to do and what we put together back then. And Nathan was certainly a part of that process because I knew Nathan on video
Only for a moment.
Exactly.
Yes,
his voice,
my
and
God,
then
it's still scary.
oh yeah, that still creeps me out. I'm like, you're gonna keep that in the trailer? Yeah, we're keeping that in the trailer. It creeps me out to this day. Every time I hear it, I get this weird vibe.
Are you gonna hurt me?
Only for a moment.
But anyhow, I knew Nathan's voice before I even met him. I actually did we did a documentary about the voice actors, and we did video then, and I got to see your face years before I got to meet you in person. So
I'm sorry.
That process.
The best part was Mick did. I mean, just tell me if I'm wrong. Mick said actually that when he saw your face and saw what you were doing, he saw the studio then, and this is obviously very different back then, 4 years ago. But he was like, I really, really want to meet that guy. Can I meet him? And it took a while. Sorry about that, Mick, but yeah, I remember you saying that.
He was keeping me all to himself.
Yeah, I still am. We're not leaving this basement. Sorry, wife and children.
Kinsey scale.
Kinsey scale.
Dusting off chestnuts. Dusting off
Oh
old
man,
chestnuts.
yeah, that's a throwback. That is a throwback. I like it.
Although it actually fits, it's probably the most appropriate time to use it. We never use it the right way.
Yeah, no, we never use it. Right. I had to look it up.
I've been listening. I've been paying attention.
You're the one. You were that one. Okay.
Yeah. But it's also kind of timely too. I'm sure if you like throw a dart at a calendar, you'll have this experience.
Sure.
But there's actually a lot of trailer news happening around this time. Particularly like the most salient one is the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer dropped today. Yes. And this one is very spoilery. So when we do talk about it, it's spoilery for Endgame. So we'll throw another little spoiler bit to that.
Yeah, we'll play the spoilerverse.
Are we going into the spoilerverse for this episode?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe a section at the end.
Marvel already has. So if they can do it in their trailer, because they have.
They literally had that in the trailer. I said this has spoilers for it.
Yeah. And I don't think we've ever seen that any time before where it's you just gave away.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And they didn't pull any punches too. It was basically spoiler
from the start. Yeah.
Yeah. But when we so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. And when we do, we'll be very we'll make sure y'all know, so that way if you want to avoid Endgame spoilers, you can skip that section. But the other one is actually one that I find very funny. So the Sonic the Hedgehog live action trailer dropped.
Pause for Sonic the Hedgehog music to play right now.
Okay. Bling bling.
Ding, 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 ding.
So the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer dropped, and there were opinions.
Oh my God, were there opinions?
And it was the human teeth was the one that I heard. On social media, right. And I probably wouldn't have noticed if nobody said anything about it. And then after seeing it, after they said that, I'm like, it's a real human teeth. Human teeth going on there.
When I watched it, I remember I couldn't quite put my finger on what bothered me about it, but his character model, both with the teeth and just his body proportions, like not even from a perspective of it being Sonic, though it didn't really match the video game Sonic anyway.
No, not at all.
But it just felt wrong. Yes. Like it was just like, and I even said to a friend of mine on Facebook, I said, I don't know what I'm feeling. I just know what I'm feeling hurts.
That's like the definition of pornography. I have no idea what it actually is, but I know when I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right though. And speaking of proportions and pornography, but that was Mick's idea. Nick said, "Here, say this on air."
And mix it.
Wait, come back! Oh, he was so young. But the thing is that, as people pointed out, Sonic looked almost somewhere between. He looked too uncanny valley because he looked like he had a human face, essentially human teeth, kind of humanish legs. He didn't look like a creature, like the Pikachu trailer. The Detective Pikachu trailer came out a little bit on our first episode, I think it was. We discussed that trailer and how even though you and I weren't invested in that world of Pokemon, that those characters, those creatures looked really entertaining and amusing, and they looked cuddly and fun. And the trailer was Sonic with the same technology. They went the wrong way. It didn't quite. They didn't quite go all the way in on it. And it can look like an animal. Yeah. And that was just off. It was off. It was off-putting. It was like, I can't. My eyes hurt.
Now, I will say the one thing I didn't have a problem with, because I was kind of willing. I was like, okay, they took a liberty with this, but I'm kind of okay with the liberty because we get Jim Carrey back. Sure. Jim Carrey is playing Dr. Robotnik. Yes. Yeah. And I actually thought it was fine. I know some people didn't like the fact that he doesn't look like Teddy Roosevelt because he's supposed to look like Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah. But I was kind of fine with that. I was like, yeah, it's fine.
No, that's typical Nate. Typical Nate.
He's optimistic. It's gonna be a dumbed down Ace Ventura. Is basically what it's gonna be.
Well, that's how it felt. The jokes. Yeah. I'm not sure how you feel about it, Mick. The jokes felt very like there's a part where during his intro, during Jim Carrey's intro. I guess the general or commander of that military
is played by Neil McDonough.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Or AKA M. Bison from that Chun-Li movie, which is terrible. But he was trying to talk to Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey was pretty much using the Ace Ventura shtick from the 90s on him. And it was like, wow, I don't know if these jokes really work as well nowadays. It comes off, yes, it's mean-spirited, which is how it was before, but it kind of seems a little weird. So I didn't chuckle at that. I chuckled later on when he had the whole joke about James Marsden had the joke about kidnapping a kid in the bag. But as far as Jim Carrey himself, that's a little, some off.
Well, I think Jim Carrey, most of his stuff is Jim Carrey's Jim Carrey. He's not really a character actor. He's Jim Carrey acting like Jim Carrey. And a lot of his stuff is kind of off color, where it's like, oh, that one worked and that one, no, maybe not so much. So, and he gets paid a lot to do it. So, hey, he's going to do his thing and that's Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any, because I think Nate and I have some, do you have any experience with the game at all? Were you familiar at all?
I played it, back in the day, but I don't have with any of the characters and backstory and all that business, I don't know a whole lot about it.
Okay. So you were able to look at it more objectively as far as this is a trailer for a movie. You weren't looking at it as far as like, I need to have my nostalgia zones hit here and here and here.
Yeah, and exactly. And the reason I would watch, I think what they're doing now with a lot of these movies that are created from the Pokemon one, where it's you could see their marketing. Who's doing the voice for the Pokemon?
Ryan Reynolds.
So, and it's going to have some of those. People are going to watch it because Ryan Reynolds is doing. My wife even keyed on that, where it's like, is Ryan Reynolds doing the voice? I'm going to see that. So see what they're doing is they're bringing in that talent. And trying to and it could be a good story. I guess until you see the movie, you're never really going to know if it's something that works. It could just fall flat on its face. But I think you were mentioning, Nathan, that they went out there and they were getting feedback about the character. So I don't know if you wanted to go there, but
and that was what I found really interesting about this whole thing was that the feedback and the reception of that trailer was so uniformly. There was hardly any good feedback of them liking Sonic. That the director came back and basically said Paramount and Sega want to get this right, so we're going to change the model. We're going to fix it.
Which is unprecedented.
That never happen, right? It doesn't.
Well, also it wasn't. It never happens. Yes, but it happened literally the next day, within 24 hours. He was like, "Hey guys, we heard you, and we're going to change it." I mean, that fast acting. And that's something that, of course, couldn't have happened, 10 years ago before the whole social media age or digital age was booming as it is now. But he was able to take that feedback and immediately say, you know what, guys, okay. And that definitely curried him some favor, curried the movie some favor.
Oh, yeah.
And that reaction might, this might be something that, because it's so unprecedented, that you might see other studios doing that with reactions to teasers or trailers and go like, wow, that's pretty awful. And, oh, we got to change that because the reaction from it is so negative.
And the interesting thing to me is I don't know how it's weird because I kind of don't know how to take it. Like, I don't know how to take it. Like, is this a good sign? Because like they only have 6 months to fix this before the launch date. So are they going to push the movie back? Are they going to try to get it done in time? But at the same time, it does kind of look from a perspective of, well, typically in this situation, they'd be like, they'll deal with it and they'll just put it out there and it's fine. But the fact that they're willing to change it shows that there is a chance that maybe they believe in this movie. And that gives me a little bit of hope. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I may have told Nick this, but I actually do, because of that, I am willing to give it a chance and actually go to the theater and see it now, because it's like, okay, you actually are you're not just trying to make a quick buck, you actually are trying to put out a product that you actually think we would want to see. In any regard. And I get that it's maybe a dangerous trend to establish, where if fans are so angry and outraged and over everything, and they just say a whole bunch of negative things online, then the studios will start bending to our will, which that's a horrible trend to establish. But if it's something like this, where we're not changing the content of the actual film, we're just more or less using the technology we have to change the way the graphics look on this one character for the greater good. I'm willing to at least give it a shot. Then that's So.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And then this could generate some positive media buzz with the film itself, and more people, like you're saying, that wouldn't normally go out of their way to watch it. Might actually give it a chance, like you said.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
And because I guess what it was too, like I'll be completely blunt here. Nate is by far the youngest one in here. And I'm quite a
deal. By 3 months, I think it is.
I'm quite a bit older than him. And then Mick is a few days older than me.
I'm Van Winkle. I am old enough to be your father or grandfather.
I've known all these years.
And not even with a time travel gimmick. I totally can get away with it. So,
But the thing was, so I know that it used to be back in the day where trailers used to be very different. They used to pretty much they'd be like 4 minutes long or so, and they would deliberately give everything away. They pretty much say, and here's the story, here's the main character. There'd be a voice over a guy saying, this is Jason and the Argonauts. This is young Jason.
Jason and his band of Argonauts, the mightiest warriors the world of adventure has ever known, in search of the fabulous magic golden fleece.
The trailer pretty much step by step walks you through a lot of the movie, and that was okay back then. People, maybe with the 60s or 70s, they were acceptable for those kind of movies. And eventually, it got to the point where people wanted to have some surprises in their films. I think one of the first trailers to actually break this trend, you can back me up in this, Mick, too, because I know you know this, was in Psycho. The way Alfred Hitchcock did Psycho, it didn't show any actual footage of the film. It just showed Alfred Hitchcock walking around the set, essentially talking about the movie. He talked about it pretty much, but didn't show any actual footage.
Here we have a quiet little motel, tucked away off the main highway, and as you see, perfectly harmless looking, when in fact, it has now become known as the scene of the crime.
Because there's a massive, massive twist in the film. And at this time, twists were so essentially, they weren't done as much as they were that he was trying to force you to come to the movie to see this surprise. And a trailer that talked everything away would have given that away. So it was the idea of trailers deliberately trying to tease you with the intention of getting you to come into the theater to do their job, more or less. That wasn't always the case. So Sonic the Hedgehog, the idea of them deliberately changing the way he looks after teasing you to get you into the theater, because essentially it was pushing people away. So of course you would have to, it only makes sense that you would say, you know what, we need to change how he looks to actually get people to come back to us.
Well, I think the other difference too is that back in the day you didn't have home computers. You had your only access to new movies that were coming out were television, newspapers, and before your movies, your sneak previews before your feature film. So that was the opportunity for Alfred Hitchcock, being the showman that he was. He did little mini documentaries before, as part of the trailer, saying, introducing himself and saying, "You got to come and see this movie," kind of thing. And he had a lot of gimmicks too. Where I don't know if you remember back. Well, you definitely weren't old enough, but I was probably just a little kid, maybe. He had this gimmick for Psycho where you couldn't come late to the movie, and once you were in, you couldn't leave.
Yes.
And he was serious about this, and everybody was like, "Well, what's that about?" Right. And he had lines and lines and lines of people, for that movie, just because. What's that all about? Is it really going to be that scary? And I've got to be a part of this.
Exactly.
He was a showman. He was like
he was a great showman. Yeah.
Like it was kind of like going to the circus.
I was going to say things like P.T. Barnum in his prime. Exactly. Well, because what it used to be, I'm going to digress here a little bit because Nate isn't digressing, so I'll do it for him. But it used to be back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s, people could walk into the movies. They buy a ticket for a movie, and they could walk in there, saunter in there whenever they wanted, more or less. It could be 10 minutes into the movie, 20 minutes into the movie, 30 minutes into the movie. It didn't matter. And like Mick just said, Hitchcock made sure that you had to be there at the beginning, had to stay through the entire film, and you couldn't you couldn't walk out or any of that kind of stuff because he wanted to make sure you got the whole experience. And that was kind of, in a lot of ways, it was unprecedented at the time. And so it's like Nick said, he was being a showman. he wanted you to get the full experience of the movie, and it would be ruined if you broke that. If you came in late or missed the whole first half, or, you know, spoiler alert, Janet Leigh is no longer there or whatnot, or if you left before she, you know, left the film herself. So these things, it's just funny how the presentation of storytelling, or even just the enticement of storytelling, has changed or evolved over the years. We're talking about trailers now. Trailers themselves have evolved so much from what they used to be back in the day. Now trailers themselves are a form of entertainment. They're actual. We have studios that make movies. We have trailer houses that make just trailers. And a good trailer house, if they're doing their job right, can make or break a movie.
Yeah. It's so interesting how, like you said, how far they've come, and also the fact that it used to be that trailers came out like just fairly close to the release of the film, you know, and it wasn't early. Now it's like you get a teaser like 2 years before the movie drops,
right.
and you're just like, okay, right. like you know, when did we get the first? It wasn't 2 years, but when did we get the first Star Wars one?
A full year.
It was a full year before it was supposed to, before it's going to appear. Yeah. And is it coming this December or?
So this one it dropped with like 9 or 10 months.
It was close to a year.
Close, like 8, 9, because at Celebration they dropped it for the one coming out in December. But for Force Awakens, it was the trailer came out in December. The teaser came out in December, and that movie came out the following December.
Yeah.
So
and that was I did a little research because I was curious about the music in that trailer, because usually the music that you hear in the trailer is the music from the movie itself or from another movie that's been established, say another Star Wars movie or what have you. That particular The Force Awakens trailer was composed by many different people. A lot of it was based on or original work by John Williams, and then there were other composers that put this whole thing together. So, like you were saying, Ethan, that it was a whole team that put together this, you know, this trailer, and it took, you know, it wasn't just something that was thrown together, a bunch of scenes, throw some music on it, throw a voiceover, if you will. They don't always use the voiceover. You know, back in the day, a lot of times, throw some music on it, throw some words up on the screen, show the name of the movie, and that's your trailer.
Yeah.
But that used to be the only thing that your only exposure to that film that's coming out was that sneak preview before the movies. Yeah. And now that we're seeing them online all the time, and you go to the movie theater, it's like seeing it. You know, when are we going to? You know, a lot of them are already, you know, on Facebook and on social media, and so you're seeing all of them. So it's not, I don't think for me it's as exciting because I don't necessarily need to see it again. However, today I went and watched Endgame again, second time.
Yeah, you did.
I liked it better the second time. But they had the Star Wars trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. And on the big screen, in the digital, whatever, how you doing?
Yeah.
It's like goosebumps. Oh, my goodness.
It's a different experience.
It's a different experience. That was definitely worth seeing that for probably the 12th time on the big screen. It was so much better.
Yeah.
Well, that's a interesting thing that, you know, like you said, you know, you're like seeing it. I really like it when a trailer drops in front of a movie that I'm watching, in front of a movie that I went out to see that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Like a good recent example of that. Of course, I didn't go see the movie, so that shows you the trailer actually didn't do its job. But it's got a family to compete with, so I'm sorry. But that one about the kid, that's King Arthur.
A kid, because I remember seeing it.
None of us know.
I didn't see it either, but I remember what you're talking about. It wasn't called The Once and Future King, but like, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's it's essentially a modern retelling of Arthur. Yeah, and hi, Nathan just dropping in here. The movie we are talking about is The Kid Who Would Be King, and I think Patrick Stewart plays Merlin, but he plays Merlin when Merlin is showing as old, but in the movie, for most of the movie, apparently he's disguised as this gangly, weird-looking dude,
kind of teenagerish.
A teenager. But the trailer was awesome. Yeah. Like the trailer was really good. Like I was, and I'm like, what is this? And you know, and then I promptly forgot about it. But
and I think another thing is that you have so many movies that come out now, and like you were saying, these trailers come out so much sooner In other words, the movie's not going to be playing next week. You'd be lucky if it's playing next month after you see the trailer, and you kind of forget about it. And then it's gone and disappears in obscurity. And you're like, I don't remember the title of the movie. None of us can bring it up right now. But we remember the trailer, and we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then once again, there was too much time between that trailer where that media buzz, if you will, kind of went away. And then when the movie finally came out, I don't know how well it did in the theater, but we all forgot about it.
Right.
Oh yeah,
right. I think it did okay. I heard it was okay from some reviews. I heard it actually was a pretty good movie. It's one of those movies that if we were a kid, we would enjoy seeing, like kind of like Jumanji or Goonies. Be a fun movie to watch as a kid. Yeah. And that's a good point that you bring up too, Mick, Nate, as well as the idea of the whole point of a trailer is to sell you on something. So they have a whole campaign as to how they do trailers. Obviously, with Star Wars, it's an announcement. Like the teasers, it's announcing to the world, hey, this movie's coming out. Obviously, us in the nerd community know about it, but for the layperson, here's an announcement of this movie that's coming out. This is how it's going to look. It's going to be a brief teaser, and that's it. And they're setting the groundwork. Then a few months later, they'll put it at the first, what they call the first actual trailer, which will establish some story elements or whatnot. Then they'll do another trailer, like about a month or so before the movie comes out, trying to hook some more people back in. And then they'll have ads or keep commercials.
And car minutes. Commercials. Do you see these where it's like, you too can have these limited edition. And then it's like, wait a minute, is this a trailer or is it a commercial? Wait a minute, it's both.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's both.
Oh, yeah.
Well done. It's Italian. Make it money. Money is fun.
Absolutely.
I have none, but I've seen it. I've seen what it looks like.
You've heard money.
Legend tales like Bigfoot and Sasquatch. But yeah.
You mentioned, like we're talking about how trailers drop so early. A perfect example is Detective Pikachu, because that trailer dropped.
Yeah.
And then it was like nothing for months. Like it dropped in our first episode. By the way, I would like to point out,
Please.
and actually I kind of got a little excited, so I'm going to digress us a little bit.
Should I be worried?
No. This is actually pretty cool.
That's why I'm in the corner. Okay.
This is be afraid. This gentleman is episode 25.
Hey, Mazel tov. Drink to it. Drink.
Drink. Yes. Clinkety, clink.
Hey, nice.
And I love the fact. Sorry, bad luck not to drink after you clink.
Yeah, right. My bad. That's my fault.
But what I really like about that is that the three of us are here for episode 25.
Right. That's a nice serendipity.
And also, hold on. Sorry, this is saying the disc. Oh, yeah. Sorry, my computer was yelling at me, and I was afraid. I was like, "Don't leave me."
Was your computer toasting as well? It was like, "Hey, I've been here since the beginning."
It was like, "Yes, I'm broken." No,
too soon.
But yeah. So I just want to say that episode 25. But yeah, the Pikachu trailer came out. The first big one that you actually heard Ryan Reynolds' voice out of Pikachu. And then there was nothing. It was tumbleweeds until about 2 weeks ago when he dropped that video about Ryan Reynolds started doing his own little marketing thing where he drops stuff on Twitter and all that.
So I think there was a couple months ago there was another trailer which showed Mewtwo, that other character.
Oh, okay, so I missed that.
Oh, that's fine. But you're right though. It was a long. Cause think about it, just pure ballpark. Mm-hmm. This is our 25th episode. We do one a week. So that's about half a year ago. Mm-hmm. They released the first trailer or teaser, whatever we would call it. The movie didn't come out for about 6 months more or less after that, because it comes out this Friday.
Yeah, it comes out
on the 10th. That's a long window. It's like that's a lot of time. And like Mick was saying earlier, it used to be that you get a trailer like a month before, that's it, and that's all you needed. And now it's like you had to have that much. You had to build things up for that long. I mean, it's a lot of time for people to forget what's going on.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's a bit of a danger because I actually when I saw that first trailer, I was like, I want to see this film.
Yeah.
I'm not even a Pokemon fan, but I want to see this because this looks funny.
Yeah.
But then I forgot about it, and it just out of my head. And then it just so happened because they really cranked out, and because it's Pokemon, and because it is the I remember reading the other day that Pokemon actually is the largest. It is the most lucrative franchise of all time. Yeah. Like it makes more money than Star Wars. It makes more money than the MCU. Though granted, Endgame brought him close.
Yeah. Alone, it definitely did.
Yeah, MCU, and also I'm sure if you counted all toy sales and all that. I'd be interested to know, like, since the 70s, you know,
Well, it's international too. I mean, you got to look at the audiences spread out.
That's true.
Around the globe because of the, where it originated and the it's just a big market for that. And that's I know little if nothing of other than Pikachu is a character in the Pokemon universe. Right? That's about all that I know. And occasionally they'll have a category on Jeopardy, and I'm like, really? I would hope I would never be that contestant that has. I'll take Pokemon for 100, Alex, because it would never come out of my mouth.
That is crazy.
I know nothing about Pokemon.
It just did. It just did.
It happened. It's on the record. We recorded it forever.
Or maybe for 200, Alex.
No. But that reminds me, Q&A into sound. I'll use it as a dovetail segue. Not my most beautifulest quote unquote segue, but I'll try it. So one thing I like about modern trailers that they do, besides just having Pikachu running around, is that they oftentimes use music or sound cues, and they also oftentimes will cut the trailer to music, to a song. For example, I know you saw it, Mick. I guess you saw it too, Nate, at the theater. The new Godzilla trailer, Godzilla, King of the Monsters. They used a cover of the song "What a Wonderful World" from Wizard of Oz, and they cut the battle, the actual hits from the monsters into each other.
Well, you mean Over the Rainbow?
Oh, I'm sorry, Over the Rainbow.
Yeah, I was going to say Wonderful World. That's a different movie.
No, Over the Rainbow. You're the music theater guy.
This is Godzilla's world. We just live in it.
Damn right.
But they cut a lot of the actual things that were happening to this song, and it really draws you in to the trailer when they sync things up to the music. And oftentimes, just having a really good song can bring you into the trailer, and even having a bad song can push you or take you out of the trailer. For example, Sonic the Hedgehog. They used Gangster's Paradise. I have the idea.
That was a horrid choice. Like that was something I didn't even like. I was so like
broken by
from the character model that I didn't. I did notice like there was a part of me going, okay, there's some cognitive dissonance happening with the fact that they're doing a Gangster's Paradise for this. Like, what does that have to do with anything that has to do with Sonic? Like,
the answer is nothing. The answer is literally nothing.
And who's your audience? I mean, this is what's your
no kid watching this is gonna have any idea what Coolio is. Or shouldn't.
I think and it's actually funny because I have a very good friend, Nicole, who she's
single, right? She's single. Where's she?
No, actually, she is married. She is married to a guy that I said to Frank. I said, Frank, I think Nicole likes you, and they have been together ever since. Dang
it.
But
I'm coming for you, Frank.
And they didn't invite me to the wedding. No, it's fine.
But we digress.
I'm not bitter. But she was a massive fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, in fact, she was the one. It was her post on Facebook that was like. In fact, she was the one I said, I don't know what I'm feeling, but whatever I'm feeling hurts.
Okay.
But she also, interestingly enough, was a massive Coolio fan.
Oh wow!
So I was like, win-win.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was
kind of like the demographic. She was that one person.
One person. But the thing is that like I think even her, she was like, what?
Even her, she was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this.
Yeah, like it just didn't make sense,
because it doesn't. It literally makes no sense. You were mentioning before how the Star Wars trailers, the more modern ones, how they'll use some John Williams, some Michael Giacchino, some other conductors or whatnot to make the music or whatnot to kind of bring you into. They're trying to evoke that nostalgia, those feelings of the movies, the films.
And there's also like a single key on a piano that each one of those begins with, and it's coming. Something really grand is about to happen.
Yeah.
And then that music just turns right up, and you get the goosebumps, and it's like, they know what they're doing.
And you need that. I feel like that's a necessary part of a good trailer to sell you on those things, is having great sound, great audio, great music, all those things in there. And when you have something that directly repels you from it, it's like, what are you doing? It's a very important aspect of making a good trailer. One of the ones I remember too, even though the actual music was Hans Zimmer for Inception back in 08 or 09 when they started advertising that movie. It was just that sound, that like kind of a big huge bass drop, like that bomb. It became kind of famous or infamous using lots of trailers or lots of movies. They use that song, but it was pretty much the idea was it was referring to in the actual film. Spoiler alert for Leonardo DiCaprio's Inception. over a decade ago. But when they would go further into the dream, it was like they were dropping into the dream. So it was like the bass was dropping out in the trailer. It was, even though you didn't know that you didn't associate those things yet, that's what it was done for.
Yeah.
And so it made sense. Overall, it makes sense. So when Sonic the Hedgehog, it looks like a human child that's been beat up by a brick in the face, and Coolio singing with dreads in his hair from the 90s, it's like, what are you doing to Nicole's dreams?
Kind of confusing. The trailer's confusing, where it's, once again, what's its audience and what's the, what are we going to see when we see the entire movie?
Yeah.
What is it trying to sell to us? Because I'm not getting it.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
Yeah. So what's the product? Yeah, what's the product exactly?
Well, and that's one thing that I've noticed that that they've done, and I think a lot of trailers have done it to good effect, which is playing a song like "Over the Rainbow," and usually they'll use like a cover.
Yes.
They'll take a cover of an old song. Sometimes it's a song from the 90s. Sometimes it's an old standard or something, and they play it over something that does create a dichotomy. But that works. Yeah. Where I don't think, like, particularly with the Sonic trailer, I don't think that worked. I don't think, like, it wasn't. And was it a cover? I can't remember. Was it a cover or was it the actual original?
It was the original, but it didn't have the vocals. It was the original beat and everything. It was definitely the original. I can't hum it more because we get flagged. But yeah, that was.
How was that again? Can you do that one more time?
As I saw your ears bleeding.
But yeah, it just didn't have that same effect that I think they were trying to go for. Like, I think they were trying to go for this, like, oh, we're going to hit you on nostalgia on both ends. And it's like, no, they have nothing to do with each other. Where like, like with the Over the Rainbow and the Godzilla, like that really kind of like, okay, this is, this is playing over monsters. Weird.
Yes. Yes. Well, because what you just said, to pick up off that idea of covering, they did for the last Godzilla film with Bryan Cranston. There was a trailer where they actually remember the old school Godzilla music that was used in the old school Chinese films. Mm-hmm. They actually had a cover of that song, which is more or less like a modern version of that song. They played over some of the trailers. So the thing was, is that the whole dun 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 dun, that way, the way that for the whole Godzilla, they did a version of that they played over that trailer. So even if you didn't know that song, it was still associated with that film, that franchise, and it worked. And for those that did know, it did have the nostalgia beat. It did hit them as far as like, oh, okay, this is going back to the form, because the last film before that was the Matthew Broderick one, which is an embarrassment of embarrassments. Roland Emmerich had a nightmare and then put it on the screen.
Yeah, that was
so they had to they were trying to bring back fans. It's the same way with I know we mentioned it thousands of times now, but Force Awakens, they were trying to do the same thing as far as using, like you said, John Williams, Michael Giacchino. They're trying to bring back that same classic music to bring back the fans of the original franchise of Star Wars. So again, it's going back to demographics and whatnot, knowing who your audience is and knowing how to hit them to bring them into the film, not push them away.
And they made some really high quality trailers for it. They definitely invested some time and money in the Star Wars trailers, because some of them are better than the entire movie. I hate to say it, but really they're exciting. I mean, even for the new one, you're like, wow, this is gonna be great. I only hope the movies can stand up to this level and deliver.
Well, and even with the prequels. I remember episode 1. I know Nate wasn't born yet, but the prequel for episode 1 in the 98 when it came out. Remember how that trailer looked amazing, because people actually literally went to see Meet Joe Black in the theater, because like you said, the internet wasn't around then, more or less. It was around, but there was no YouTube or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, waiting for that video to buffer would have taken longer than watching the movie Meet Joe Black, so they figured,
which is 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yes, that's actually true. Yeah, that's actually true. So the ticket sales of that movie were pretty high. People would literally go back over and over again, watch just the first few minutes of that trailer, and then leave the theater. So, but it was, that trailer was amazing for episode 1. It worked. It did its job. There was no dialogue at all. There was no inner world guy voicing over things. It was just the music, just the Star Wars music. Just seeing, it had a couple words that came up on the screen as far as like, every legend has a start or whatnot. And you see Darth Maul come out with the same. It was amazing. It worked. It was a highly effective trailer. And that trailer, like you said, was 20 times better than the actual movie.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing about trailers that does bother me sometimes.
Preach.
That where they take the best bits of the movie and throw it in the trailer. And it's a like obviously it's a marketing tactic because they're like, okay, we've got to market this crap. So what are the best bits? What are the best jokes? And that was something that I found interesting with Endgame, with the trailers for Endgame. Endgame had a lot had a lot of jokes. It was funny, but they didn't use the best jokes.
No, not even close.
Like there were some jokes that were good. The whole like he's really good at that. Yeah, right. Like that whole thing between Rocket Raccoon and Ant-Man, but they didn't use like Build-A-Bear, and all that. Like they didn't use the really good jokes from the movie, which I think is indicative of people who are really like people who do that are really good because they know to pull it'll pull the people in. You know what I mean? And you've got a better product.
Absolutely.
That just means you have a better product.
Well, they're on their game. And Mick, you guys are both editors. Mick does a lot of digital editing with video and stuff like that, but. I mean, like Mick has done it several times. He knows, like for my comics and whatnot, he knows what to cut to put in there that entice without giving away the whole house, essentially.
Yeah. Well, there's also. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's also a certain tone that you want to put across in the trailer, and we did a lot of collaboration where Ethan gave me music to give me an idea of. I've only read the first book. I think at the time it was only the first out of 6 books, so I didn't know the entire story. What's the story about, and what's the tone? What's the mood? What's this feel like? You gave me a piece of music from, I think it was from the movie Sicario.
For the first. That's right.
Who was
for
the
Beast?
Composer for that. It was really just creepy, droning kind of, and I really just kind of fed off of that with what are the images going to look like for this? What are the what's the look and feel, and that was kind of the placeholder for the first trailer, and then we got original music for that afterwards. I don't know if you hired somebody to actually.
Corey Capron did that. Yeah.
So we actually used music as a placeholder that was copyrighted, and then we went and had somebody compose original music to the trailer that I put together based on that Sicario piece that you delivered to me. So and those images kind of. And we worked together closely about what's going to be on the screen now and why. And you actually didn't you change the dialogue? Because we actually did voice
script. Yeah.
And I don't know, we want to go, we did voices for that trailer where Nathan, you were part of
Nate
part of that. You did a couple voices there, didn't you?
Yeah, he did 3, I think.
Yeah.
And then now I digress because I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, tone. Being able to find the tone in a trailer and based off the source material, that it stays true to form without giving away the house.
Exactly. Oh, and my point was going to be that you actually used dialogue that was not you made a script that was not from your book, purposely not giving away, using different dialogue, I believe, that wasn't that you'd never find in the book because you wanted to just for the trailer itself.
Right.
We created different pieces of dialogue, and I know regular movie trailers do that sometimes, where that scene was never in the movie, but it was in the trailer.
100%.
I've seen that before. So
100%. Yeah, that was infamous. There was a real quick before I forget. So Johan Johansson did the music for Sicario. It was great stuff. He works with Denis Villeneuve on other stuff, like for example, one of our favorite movies, Arrival. He did music for that too. But yeah, as far as trailers that will have, I guess deliberately or indeliberately, will have entire scenes that aren't in the film. Infamously, Amazing Spider-Man #2 had that, I'm talking about, Nate, the scene where it had Norman Osborn in his deathbed, literally his deathbed. And he was talking to his son about not every hero deserves to live or whatnot. Pretty much set up the idea that Norman was giving his blessing to his son to fight Spider-Man, what have you. Scene is nowhere near the movie. Not even close to the movie at all.
Yeah.
And so it upset lots of fans pretty much. So doing that kind of stuff, sometimes it can work in your favor, sometimes not. In Rogue One, another Star Wars movie, there was a lot of shots in those trailers that didn't end up in the film. Like, for example, the part where Jyn Erso was like running on the scaffolding.
Yes, and the TIE fighter at the end of the scaffolding. We never saw it. Everybody's waiting. We're all waiting for it, right? Because that's another thing you were talking about, Nathan. You were talking about them giving away major scenes. And a lot of times in those movies, you were waiting for those things to happen. And you're like, I can't wait for the TIE fighter. And it's like, wait a minute, this scene can't be done yet because the TIE fighter and it was never in the movie. And you're like, whoa, did they try to trick us?
Yeah.
Or was that just something that just didn't work in the film? And I imagine the latter is more the case.
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination thing where you have in some cases, it's an editing piece.
Yes.
Where what we were talking about trailers being released very early, it's a situation where it was just cut cut and editing. Whereas in other situations, I wouldn't be surprised if they were filming, they're filming a scene and they're like, this is probably not going to make it in, but we'll do it and we can use it in the trailer.
On purpose, I know Deadpool during their marketing, they did, on purpose, with Ryan Reynolds' sense of humor and stuff, they did a whole bunch of part of their ad campaign was to have a whole bunch of different things that pretty much the audience knew wasn't going to be in the films, but it was just fun to see Ryan Reynolds having fun. Like there's one where he went up to a playground with kids outside. He actually dressed up as Deadpool, messing around with kids. They were dressed up as other superheroes, and that was in commercials. But that, of course, we all knew that wasn't going to be in the movie. But it was also a way to be a part of the marketing. There was an ad where he was like lying on a bearskin rug for Valentine's Day.
I remember that.
Those
so
are
he wasn't going to
great.
be in the movie at all. But it was still effective marketing because we weren't being tricked. We knew it wasn't going to be in the movie. But two, it was still in theme or in tone with the actual film.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Christmas one too. Wasn't there a Christmas deal with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool because they did an edited
with the Fred Savage, for the like a Princess Bride type of one. Exactly.
Yeah, it was. Like the marketing for that film, for both films, were just genius, and they're trying to do it a little bit with the Pikachu because, like Ryan Reynolds just dropped a thing last week about how he method acted Pikachu, and then like little things like that. But yeah, the marketing for that was awesome, and the trailers for those were really good.
It was brilliant.
I think there's a way to do it. Like I said, like there's a way to do it, but not everybody can do it well.
It takes a deft hand. It is a skill. It's a talent to be able to be a good
it really
editor.
is.
And part of it is as well, we're talking about superhero movies and sci-fi, but also with comedies. Comedies is even trickier because nowadays you don't want to, like you talk about jokes, you don't want to have the best jokes in the trailer because then in the actual movie theater, when people are watching the movie, they already know they already know the jokes. They already know the laughs.
Yeah.
So you want to try to find a way to have something funny, obviously, for the trailer. There's a movie called Booksmart, which is about these two. It's coming out later on, directed by Olivia Wilde, where it has these two like Yale or Harvard accepted high school girls that are super duper smart, but they've never actually partied a day in their life. And so it's like the last weekend before they go off to school, and they're like trying to go out and celebrate big time. And it's a rated R trailer, or like one of those red band trailers.
Band,
She's got a really cute smile. Go talk to her.
Oh, sorry. Sharp elbows, not as sharp as your chin. What?
And so the trailer has lots and lots of funny parts, but you get the idea that the movie itself that's the whole movie. So they're not cherry picking just the only funny moments in the whole trailer, in the whole movie. You get the idea that this is the entire film. The whole film is full of these kind of weird, raunchy, bizarre moments. And they're not showing their hand. But I have seen plenty of films where they do that, and it does bother me when you see the best jokes for a comedy in the trailer.
Yeah. I think it's one of those. Like I was saying before, like I almost am more likely to go see a comedy that has a trailer that doesn't completely destroy me because when the jokes are funny but not like, oh my god, that was hilarious, that gives me the impression that okay, they're holding it back, holding back, they don't have they're keeping their best stuff under the vest. Right. Where you get movies that are like what was that one movie with Melissa McCarthy? She was a identity thief. No.
Oh, I think it was called Identity Thief.
Yeah, Identity Thief or something like that. And with I can't even remember Jason Bateman.
I think isn't that called Identity Thief?
Yeah,
kind of like that.
And like that trailer, like I saw it and I was like, okay, that was a really funny trailer, and I guarantee you those were the best jokes in the film, and I was right.
Yeah, well, you have to think, how much can they do with that? How much can they do with that situation though, and that setup? It can only go so far, and you're absolutely right. I totally agree with that. That you saw the whole movie right there.
Clearly, yeah.
And I think there's an interesting thing that happens with trailers, and you can almost tell, just when watching the trailer, you can tell the just overall quality. Yeah. Like you could be like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a good movie. Like really anymore, I don't think I've ever had a situation where I've watched a trailer, said I really want to see that film, and then I go see it and I'm like, oh, that was crap. Like that doesn't really happen anymore.
Completely off.
Yeah, because like I've gotten to the point where I see a trailer that I like, and I'm like, I like this. This is I think I'm really going to like this movie, and 9 times out of 10 I do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. Well, I know recently Hellboy, you probably heard the backlash from the Hellboy film.
Yeah.
That trailer turned a lot of people off. Both the trailers turned people off already, and in the film was actually considered, it was like 13% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever it was. It was pretty bad, pretty detrimental. So yeah, it can definitely happen. But there's really good trailers that find a way. Like one of the most epic, still to this day praised, one of the best trailers of all time is from Alien 1. Remember that trailer?
Oh yes.
So that trailer, you want to describe how the trailer plays out?
It had a lot of scenes that were just flashed in front of you, so you never really saw a lot of anything.
Yeah.
And some really, I don't know how to describe the music that was in that, other than it was more like a siren.
Yes, like a siren, exactly.
Flashes from the film of people sweating and running, and it was just dark, and it was just, and then the when the alien logo came up on the screen, you were like, everybody was like, I'm seeing that, because that trailer was, check it out again, and you'll get goosebumps because it was done so very well, and that was back in 1978, probably when it came out. 79 was the movies. It was in that time frame, and very well done.
Well, because the beauty of it too was, for one thing, is at that point it was one of the first sci-fi horrors, so it was very rare. But with horror films, you had to be careful not to show the beast or the monster really, because you want to save that for the actual film. And with Alien, a big part of it was the suspense. He doesn't show up. The monster doesn't show up till like an hour, 10 minutes into the movie, really. So you really wanted to actually build it up properly. And the trailer that you said it's like a siren going off, like it's an emergency crisis situation. It has people running around sweating. Everything's going to crap for them. And it does a really good job of presenting the tone without showing you anything, really. And it's that kind of suspense and drama was more or less the whole point of the movie. And so when you're doing horror films, it's weird how you cut the proper trailer to get across to more or less pique interest without showing too much.
And not having the voiceover where, in a small town in New England.
Right. Yeah. Stephen King. Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually going to mention the fact that I saw a Jaws trailer recently, and that's kind of what they did. It was like in a small town, blah blah blah, blah, and it was like it explained everything. It kind of had a similar effect as the Alien bit, but the Alien was just so much more effective. Yeah. Like it just did a much better job getting you psyched to see the film,
Well, and it was more show and don't tell. It was
it was all show. It was all show.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't what was probably more traditional 70s and 80s trailers where you had the voiceover guy.
What's his name? What's his name?
Don LaFontaine. Yeah.
From the sewers of Gotham, from the rooftops of Gotham, above Gotham.
And you expected, when you heard that voice, you were like, this is the guy. And this is, you expected it after a while when you went in the trailer. Every single one of, the voiceovers was by him. He did thousands, over 5,000 film trailers.
Yeah.
And he was the voice of sneak previews of the trailers before the movies. And now you don't get that as much. Now the style is very different. And they put a lot of, like we talked about earlier, they put a lot of money into these trailers now.
Yeah, they really do. It's part for the print and advertising budgets. But some of the earlier trailers I remember that did it. It was definitely for The Matrix, because it was meant to be very much like a mysterious thing that you didn't know what it was. So they didn't have Don LaFontaine doing that in 1998. They didn't have that at all. There was no voiceover for that trailer, and they kind of changed the whole idea of having really cool music, really impactful music with just really interesting images that you really knowing what the context was. And it worked really well. So
one of those was, I think I mentioned to you guys the other day, if you get a chance to see the Gladiator teaser trailer, it's only a bunch of images with words on the screen. A soldier becomes a slave, whatever, and the only thing that you hear is the theme music from the first Conan the Barbarian movie by Basil Poldoris. And it's just so effective. Like it was one of those, I'm seeing that movie, and it certainly paid off because they did it well.
Oh my God, yeah, of course.
But that teaser trailer was simple. Music, I could make that teaser trailer.
Sure.
I mean, it was just that simple, but the simplicity of it was very effective.
Yeah. But the idea too was, like, you obviously on some level, some subconscious level, you recognize that theme music from Conan the Barbarian, which evoked the idea of an epic warrior. So seeing the words, it's a general that became a slave that defied an emperor that died because he's Joaquin Phoenix. But the whatever that song was. But the thing was, though, it on a subconscious level, it hit you. It hit you in the nostalgia zone the way it was supposed to. And that's how you do an effective trailer. We keep on hitting that same button, but that's the point. They were trying to make clear. So it's, I think one thing too that's really, really key to think about as far as these trailers is finding the right music. Like you guys have seen the trailer for the Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Uh-huh. So
they used one of the earlier trailers. They used Lux Eterna as the music for that. There was no dialogue. There may have been words on the screen, but it was just like that theme song. If we probably have it in the episode, but it was just the theme music, which was originally used. As far as films go, it was used in the movie Requiem for a Dream. Have you guys seen Requiem for a Dream?
Years ago,
yes,
yeah.
That's one that maybe just once.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's literally all you need.
To watch.
Yes, it's very hard to watch, but the idea of it is very much like sometimes there is no hope. And so you having that song which gets stuck in your bones, having that song play in that trailer is pretty much like as you're seeing Aragorn like pretty much falling off his horse, and you're seeing Frodo getting corrupted by a ring, you're seeing Gollum, lose his pants. It's like, man, there really is no hope in this. And it's the idea of it knows how to evoke the right emotions. It's an important thing to do.
Mm-hmm. That's something I find very interesting about some trailers where, like we were saying about how trailers that don't show you the film, they just kind of the teasers mostly, and these are usually relegated to teasers as these. But I really like when a movie does that because it shows a level of confidence. Like we have so much confidence in this film, we don't even have to show it to you.
Yes.
We're just going to do this thing, and like you said, using music the way they do, it creates. Music, like it does in movies itself, music creates such an emotional response, and that's why it's so interesting. Like I actually didn't know that those trailers, like the Gladiator trailer, was using Conan the Barbarian, and Two Towers was using Requiem for a Dream. I didn't realize that they did that. Like I just thought it was just they just composed they just took a thing from the movie and just slapped it on there and called it a day. But when you realize they do stuff like that, they're doing it to evoke these emotions that they know. It's almost like tropes.
Yes.
It's their musical tropes that they know are going to be shorthand for the audience to go, okay, I want them to be in this emotional space.
Exactly.
So I'm going to put this music on it to just then put them there.
It's deliberate manipulation, which is, that's what I get it. That's what storytelling movies are. It's manipulating emotions, but if done well, who cares? I want to have my emotions, I want to be emotional.
Manipulate me.
Please manipulate me.
Immigrant Song in Thor Ragnarok. Was that ever in the trailer?
Perfect.
Oh, yes.
Twice in the movie.
Twice in the movie. It wasn't in the trailer,
And was it in the trailer?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember it, but because that the matching of that music
spot on,
and that action is like
spot on.
It's like
the way it played in the trailer, at least the first trailer. I'm not sure if Nate can probably tell me if I'm wrong, which he always does. But the way it played in the first trailer was Thor throws the hammer, Hela catches the hammer with her hand, and then she goes, "You have no idea what I can do," or something like that. And the hammer busts apart, and that's what they play. That's what Immigrant Song comes in. As far as kind of like the idea of like that. Now you're in a whole wild world. What's the line? It's like I come from a land of ice and snow. Kind of the idea of she's come from a land that you can't imagine, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was very effective.
That reminded me of the first Iron Man movie. Do you remember the first
AC/DC
the trailer?
It was AC/DC, yeah.
And you hear and at the end of the trailer, right when they show the name, you hear that Iron Man, and they do that. I was like, oh man, I'll never forget that because I remember seeing it, and the fact that like I started listening to the trailer, or like I'm watching the trailer and I'm hearing the music and I'm going, oh no, they didn't. They were using this music,
and then he flies in one of the scenes in one of the movies, right, with that music, right?
Oh yeah.
Because it's they play that chord, that solo. They play it out, drag it out.
Maybe it was Shoot to Thrill. But anyhow, that's his style. Like that's Iron Man's theme music is rock and roll. That rock and roll. Right?
Exactly. Very much.
Yes.
Very much so. Yeah, I love it.
So did we want to chat about the Spider-Man trailer real quick? So we talk about the spoiler. Okay, so for everyone,
wait, I haven't.
Sorry.
You guys haven't asked me.
What?
I haven't seen it yet. Kidding. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you guys were talking about it before I even knew it existed, and then I watched it.
Yeah, I think we put it in the APB at our message. Yeah, message.
Yeah, it was like, holy crap, it's out.
Yes.
But yeah, so for anybody who's listening right now, just know that we are about to talk about the Spider-Man trailer. It actually warns you at the beginning of the trailer that it has spoilers for Endgame. Yeah. So if you have not seen Endgame, stop listening, go see Endgame, and then come back, and then watch the trailer, and then come back.
Yes, and by the way, the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home essentially has spoilers for its own movie too. So if you don't wanna,
I didn't even see that.
Just the way that there's so many plot points. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen if you're going to go in completely fresh and haven't watched the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home, you may not want to hear us discuss it either.
Yeah. So okay. So we get that out of the way. We've given you the beat, and now we're gonna talk about it. So, gentlemen, what did you? Wow. What did you think of this trailer? Wow.
Vicky, since you're the youngest one here.
I like how our ages change.
I guess I should go first because I'll forget.
Your name is Mick.
Okay. Is it? Oh. Well. Gosh, since I saw Endgame again today, and I purposely told my wife, don't watch what I'm watching right now because I was checking out the new Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yeah.
You got to watch it after.
Yeah, don't watch it now.
And I think it's not only a great marketing scheme because Marvel's really good at that anyway with their little after, what do they call them, after credit scenes or whatever, because you got to they'll give you a little bread, whatever. But I think I really like the overall the trailer itself without the whole spoiler stuff at the beginning. But I think that's first we're seeing this.
Yeah,
where they're telling us what's happened in. I mean, they just drop it right at the beginning of the trailer, after who's it? Tom Holland is the actor
Tom Holland
Spider-Man. Tells you if you haven't seen Endgame, stop right now, don't watch this. And then right off the bat, they tell you what.
Iron Man's dead.
Iron Man's dead.
Like, I miss him.
What am I gonna do? Kind of thing. And then it has. I mean, the trailer itself is solid. I'm very excited to see who's playing the
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes,
Mysterio.
And I think that character is just, to me, it's just going to be. I mean, I know very little about the character, so I don't have any spoilers from the comic books or preconceived notion about what that character should be. I'm just digging the team up here and wondering where it's going to go. And then them showing a little bit of them in action and just kind of setting things up. It just looks really, really interesting.
It looks a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that's really throwing me about it is the fact that and I'm again, spoilers, and I hope this doesn't spoil anything, but in the comics, Mysterio is a bad guy. In fact, I don't even I'm sure there are, but it is, he's not even like in the Catwoman category, where she's sometimes good and sometimes bad. No, he is a bad guy.
And he's petty.
And he's petty, and he is just not someone who typically would join up with Spider-Man. No. So the fact that the trailer makes it look like he's an ally.
Very much so.
I'm wondering when I think there's going to be a turn. I think there's going to be a turn in the movie where he's good guy, and then bad guy.
I'm almost certain. And not to spoil it for Mick or anything like that. He'll probably live long enough to see the movie. But the thing about it is that Quentin Beck, the guy who plays Mysterio, he's infamous. He works as a special effects artist in Hollywood. So his whole job is to make a whole bunch of to make things, make illusions or whatnot seem real in front of Spider-Man. He has to deal with them. It's a slight digression, but not too much. Don't worry, Nate. In the original story of Old Man Logan, it's Mysterio.
Oh, man.
It's Mysterio. Do you know the story of Old Man Logan, the comic book, Nick?
I do not.
Oh, man.
Okay. But, long story short, it's Mysterio that literally uses illusions to make Wolverine, to convince Wolverine that all the X-Men in the X-Mansion are his enemies. So Wolverine goes on a killing spree and kills all the X-Men except for someone survives. But he kills a whole bunch of X-Men, mutants. And Wolverine, after he realizes this, of course, it goes into a massive depression. But the idea is Mysterio's illusions are so strong that it convinced Wolverine to kill everybody. So that's who Spider-Man is going up against. That's what Mysterio is. He's a trickster. He's like a super Loki.
Potentially what we were seeing in that trailer with it looked like something coming out of the water and these gigantic molten-looking how you doing. This could be him doing this whole thing for a different purpose that an evil purpose that we don't know about or will be revealed in the.
It could be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're building it, and they even mention in the trailer that the whole the whole time travel stuff that they did created a pocket universe, and there's a multiverse and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. So
which is what I thought may be a spoiler as far as it would have been kind of cool if we didn't know that he was from Earth 2 or Earth 3.
Yeah,
but
they tell us that right in the trailer. He's from.
But one thing I don't know about you guys, and I mentioned this in our chat, that I found interesting because you see you watch Endgame and you're like, okay, it was an ending, and everything's over, and I'm happy because I like where the story went, but I'm sad because these characters died, and blah blah blah. And then this trailer drops, and I'm like, oh, we're back in it.
Yeah,
they're not.
nice.
Marvel isn't done with this whole thing. It's just, we're just going to reload for the
exactly
because
they've got
epic. How you doing?
Because they've got Fury in there. They've got Maria Hill, Colby Smulders, and they got everybody. Like it's just
Happy's there.
Happy's there.
And does they hinted at Jason Warlock, right?
Did they hint at? They probably did.
I might have missed that.
In Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, yeah. They directly said yes. Adam Warlock. Yeah, they made sure.
And I was expecting to see him in Endgame. I was like, where is he in there somewhere? Is he going to come flying in? That's who I thought was coming flying in when the Thanos' ship was firing up into the clouds, and then it was Captain Marvel. And I was like, but I think they're saving him for
clearly. Give him probably Guardians 3. Probably put him in there properly. Give him a proper introduction. But no, I guess what I was thinking was because when I thought the first time I saw that trailer, the first Far From Home trailer, I thought, oh, that's Syndrome. I know Nate knows this from Incredibles. You remember Syndrome in Incredibles, Mick? Syndrome was the guy, the bad guy who posed as a hero to fool the masses, and he pretty much tried to take down his own machine to seem like he was the good guy, and it backfired. And when I saw that trailer of Mysterio, I was like, I'm here, Spider-Man. I'm Mysterio. I'm a hero. I'm Jake Gyllenhaal with a beard, and he does a whole bunch of triangle green stuff, and it said that the water monster is going down. It seemed like he was put on a show again, which is what Mysterio does. Mysterio will put on a show in front of people to make Spider-Man look bad or to confuse them and rob a bank or whatnot. So it seemed very much like, oh, that he's doing classic Mysterio stuff, like Golden Age Mysterio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's and that was the interesting thing. Like I'll fully admit, I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about the fact that like those fight scenes could have been just Mysterio just creating a thing. And that, but I'm very interested to see how that gets handled.
Of course, yeah.
I will say,
preach
the costume, the Mysterio costume.
You're not feeling it?
I don't know. It looked a little like, I don't know. It's
Liberace?
Yeah. Well, it's like all bulky and weird. Like it didn't like, because when you look at the Spider-Man suit and the Iron Man suit or War Machine or
Strange,
Doctor Strange
it's kind of functional.
Yeah,
looking.
and everything looks like it has a reason. Where with Mysterio, it just looks like, okay, I've got an air conditioner front on my chest, and I'm wearing.
It just got hot in there.
Yeah, like it just seemed it seemed more like Asgardian almost.
Yes,
like
it does seem Asgardian.
Like because it just didn't. I don't know.
But
I didn't feel it.
That's very true. But in this trailer, he says no, he's from a different Earth. What I'm thinking is maybe the other Earth he's from, that style of clothing isn't as foreign. It's kind of like they dress differently than we do in our Earth. So they're
just more flamboyant over there or something. I don't know.
Liberace, why not? Yeah. But it looked very entertaining. It was just bizarre because also there's a part 2 where, if you guys remember, where MJ says like are you Spider-Man? Talking to Peter. He's like, what? And I was like, wait, you guys just put that up in the trailer that somehow she figures out that he's Spider-Man. And that'd been kind of cool if we actually had that reveal in the movie too. But it's interesting. And also the idea too that, again, everyone knows there's no superhero in the MCU that people don't already know exactly who they actually are.
Yeah,
it's a weird take.
Well, and then and then they're giving Spider-Man the spider armor now, so he's kind of taking on that. They're very much hinting at, hey, now Peter Parker is going to kind of take on the persona of Iron Man, and they're like, he's not going to replace him, but he's doing his job, and they kind of did a joke about that at the beginning. I'm doing your, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, like the bit where he's talking to Fury, and Fury's like, "Oh, you got to do this," and he's like, "I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man." And he's like, he basically is like, "Bitch, you've been to space."
Right, that's in the trailer. That's awesome in the trailer.
Like, you're done.
Yes, I love it. I love anytime Nate does a full blown black man impression. It makes me happy in my bones.
I try not to, but I was pretending to be Samuel L. Jackson.
Everybody pretends to be Samuel L. Jackson.
That's too
come on.
I will say that trailer sent me down a rabbit hole of like watching scenes from the Marvel films. Like I watched like the scene with Tony Stark and like him, like the first time he goes to see Spider-Man and or Tom Holland and then there was one I saw. It was the first time that that Tony Stark meets Natasha Romanoff, and it's like if you looked at the comments, like all the comments were like, "I'm sad, I'm sad."
Oh,
if you've seen Endgame, you know why I'm sad.
Spoil everything.
Oh, and then at the beginning of the at our movie house, I did just say movie house.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Oh boy. They
Get off my lawn!
the movie house. Get off my lawn.
Clint, Mr. Eastwood. I apologize.
They have the bits at the beginning where they show you what's happened previously, which is pretty cool, and they have some funny stuff.
It's really
like
cool, actually.
the superhero landings, and they had a whole bunch of sequence with that.
Cool.
And it's just a fun way. Plus, they also catch you up on the 21 movies before Endgame. And my wife really appreciated that because she didn't want to sit down and watch. She can't remember all those movies.
No.
I am. So she, so it's like you get a recap of phase 1, 2, and 3, right?
Pretty much.
And it gets you where you need to be as far as and not have to watch all the movies that were before Endgame. So
I think my personal favorite was the what was the name of that city that got lifted up?
Sokovia.
Sokovia. It was like, say hello to Sokovia. Goodbye, Sokovia.
We saw that.
That was my personal favorite.
That was amazing. Amazing. I love also in the actual film itself, it's one of those things where it did a good job of light exposition. So when they go back in time to 2012 for the first Avengers film, there's a part where they reference Winter Soldier. So Tony Stark has Ant-Man on his shoulder, and supposedly these S.H.I.E.L.D. agents come in to take the scepter, and Tony Stark says, "Oh, these are the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents." Well, actually, they're Hydra agents. We just didn't know it at the time, referring to Winter Soldier. And Ant-Man says, "Really? These are you guys? These are the good guys? These guys look like bad guys." And it was the kind of way, like as far as like if you haven't seen Winter Soldier, these were bad guys posing as good guys. If you have seen Winter Soldier, we're reminding you that yes, these are the bad guys you saw before, kind of thing. So it's a fun way to actually have. To not bombard the people who may have forgotten some details.
And they kind of needed to do that because they needed to set up the whole Hail Hydra joke that
and plus they gave you a recap in the movie itself of all the other movies. They give you the place and the time where the stone was and where you're going.
Yeah.
So you got basically a recap of all those movies where the stones were because that's and then going back in time and making it a whole different sequence with the interactions between the characters from the future and the characters from the past,
which is always fun. Yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah, very well done. And again, we digressed, but I'm not sure whose fault that was. I'm going to say Nate.
Did we digress? We were still talking about the Spider-Man.
We said. Well, we kind of went into Avengers, which I think was Ethan's fault.
It was the point of this. This after the spoiler verse.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Anything that excuses us, yes, we'll say. So Nick's right. Whatever Nick said was right.
I'll play.
Nick is correct.
I'll be referee.
Always correct.
Nick is always correct. Nick is always right.
So let it be written. So let it be.
so say we all with the NPSG.
Exactly.
There you go.
Let it be known. Okay. Well, I think that. Okay, so I think that wraps up our trailer discussion. I think we've discussed a lot on trailers, and I hope y'all enjoyed that. But I have a fun thing Ethan arranged for a surprise. We have a voicemail. We have a voicemail coming in. So I believe this is from Ray.
Right. Okay.
And we so let's hear what Ray has to say.
Hi guys, my name's Ray. My question is directed at Ethan in particular. What were some of the comics, whether they be events or runs by a certain author or what have you, that inspired you to write comics? And more generally, just some of your favorite runs or events in particular, particularly from the big two, Marvel and DC. Thank you.
Okay, so Ray wants to know answer his question.
On with it already. Come on.
First and foremost, Ray, thanks for calling in to the show and thanks for listening. We definitely appreciate that very much. And I guess I'll go ahead and address it first since you called me out. The part one of the question, the comics, what got me into wanting to write comics in the first place was that I went to film school and I wanted to be able to turn the ideas and stories I had into the big screen, bombastic action adventure pieces. And that's a very, 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 very hard process or road to toe, very hard, long journey to make. But I wanted to see my vision come to life in some capacity. And my brother convinced me to try making graphic novels instead. we can tell adult stories in a 2D medium. So that's how I got into wanting to do comic books in the first place, was because my brother convinced me. Even though I grew up reading comic books, I was under the impression too that they were more or less meant to be featuring superheroes or things of that nature. And I thought you also had to already have characters established from 50 years ago in the Marvel and in DC. So my perspective had to change. To address the next question, the arcs that influenced me the most or got me the most into writing in general, one of them, the biggest one, was definitely by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee, called Batman Hush. It was a 12-part story.
So good.
It's amazing. I think Mick hasn't read it yet, but I'll make sure he does.
No.
But the best part is Mick's voice sounds like the way Hush would. But that story, Hush, is what really got me into wanting to write a ongoing story. Because graphic novels oftentimes there's 6 issues or more that make one story, and that's it. So that arc is a really big one that really got me into wanting to write stories and kind of helped me try to formulate how to write an ongoing series with a big climactic, with lots of climaxes in them, with a great resolution, with a character you're following from start to finish. And if you know Slade and Ash and you know Hush, there's a lot of earmarks we deliberately used. Even, for example, the way that at the beginning of each book or each chapter, the way the title is written is directly from Hush. I can bring up a side by side. We use it. It's not copyrighted. That's what we're allowed to do it. But anyways, Mick, as our guest, did you want to field that question as far as, because you are a new writer or a budding, aspiring writer yourself. You have a series that you're working on. What are some series, comic books that got you into wanting to write, or stories that got you into wanting to write?
Well, you say the last man on Earth. I'm going to the last boy on Earth, Commandy, Jack Kirby's baby. That wasn't really that popular, but I just grew up with it, with that comic book series.
Sure. Sure.
And I just gravitated towards he was the last human boy on Earth, and everybody else were. Have you seen the series or heard of it?
I've heard of it.
They're all animals. They're all, but they're bipedals now. So there's tigers that are wearing spacesuits, and this is very interesting. But for the age that I was when I read it, it really just was something like I could be the last boy on Earth, and it would be a really cool environment to be in. And it's kind of like post-apocalyptic, like hell, most of the stories are now, but kind of like Planet of the Apes, which was one of my favorite movies growing up. The first one where the Statue of Liberty is in the first cover of Commandy #1. The Statue of Liberty is broken, and in the background Commandy is rowing his little rubber raft in the foreground. And that storyline was something that just and then Jack Kirby. I mean, Jack Kirby was somebody that I always inspired to be. I like to draw a lot and always inspired by his shadows, and then my project now is, and this was something that my inspiration was Ethan Murphy sitting to the left of me, because I never thought that I would ever try to create a comic book. It wasn't my goal. Was I wanted to write some screenplays. I wanted to write some stories. But once again, a really tough racket to get into. I mean, how many people do you know that write scripts? Actually get theirs made into a movie. It's a tough market. So to have your stories realized through the medium of comic books and graphic novels is something that I never thought I would be doing. And then Ethan says, "Why don't you try it out?" So I came up with a story, and we started bouncing ideas between each other. And then it was originally Sin Sisters was the original title, and now the title is One. It's changed. It's molded into something that is very different from what the original story was. And it's kind of a hard science fiction story, and I've always been a science fiction fan, so I think a lot of my inspiration is more from science fiction books and television that I grew up with, Star Trek and Space 1999, which wasn't that great.
That's Mystery Science Theater,
But the idea is, and then the hard science fiction movies like Blade Runner was one that really kind of put a hook in me, because it's like Harrison Ford in that environment. You were expecting him to be in Indiana Jones or Han Solo, and it was entirely different. And the first time I saw it, I was kind of disappointed, but then I couldn't stop thinking about it and went into it again and went, this is something that's going to be a classic. And now they made the sequel to it, but the original is still, there are 5 different versions of this movie, because different people have their ideas about, this is something that is great, and the director wanted to mold it into something that wasn't the theatrical release that we all saw. But I'll digress. and say that my graphic novel series is something that I thought I would never do, and now I'm on book number 1 and working with an artist and coming out with pages, and it's kind of an exciting process, and it's all due to Ethan Murphy's inspiration, my mentor, master.
Easy. The thing about it is, though, is that I've seen because I think he had at least 2 different artists on this book at one time, and it's very impressive. The artwork is very impressive. The story is it's hard science. It's very much like you mentioned like Philip K. Dick. It's very much in theme with Philip K. Dick, which is a very hard, to get into the themes of that. It's beyond me. So it's a very impressive work that you've done there. And so it's good stuff. Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
All right, Nate, you're the last one.
So for me, essentially, mine is actually fairly similar to Ethan's in that, but even more so than Hush. It's still Jeff Loeb though. The 2 story arcs that I absolutely love. One more than the other is The Long Halloween.
Yes.
Jeff Loeb with Tim Sale. Tim Sale was the artist, and Tim Sale has a very stylistic type of art that I adore. And Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale have kind of made especially in the late 90s and early aughts, they made a kind of a little mini cottage industry of working together on different books. And they started in DC with The Long Halloween and The Dark Victory, which was a sequel. And then they did what was called the Color series, which was like they did Hulk Gray, Daredevil.
That was that
was them. Hulk Gray, Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue, all just fantastic storylines. Jeff Loeb is an amazing writer. And but The Long Halloween, what I really liked about it, and the same is true for Hush, is it is a detective story.
Yes,
it is a first and foremost a detective story. It's there's superhero fights and everything, but no, it's a whodunit. It was somebody is murdering people and Batman has to try to figure it out. Yeah. And that's what I loved about it. And the same thing with Hush. Like, it is a detective story. It's a little bit flashier because Jim Lee's art lends itself to the comic, to the comic splashiness of splash pages and also I think Hush, it actually boasts the first time officially in the continuity of the DC universe that Batman and Superman fight.
Is that true? Well,
it is the first actual continuity.
I see what you're saying. I see because the Dark Knight Returns is set in like a
that's like an Elseworlds. No, this is a in continuity Batman and Superman fight. Okay. It's actually the first event of that. Nice. And like all the other times it's happened, it's been like an Elseworlds or in a side book that doesn't technically count within the continuity. So I remember being so excited when that happened. But yeah, so those are the stories that really inspired me. Currently,
I hate to interrupt you too, but I've actually thought about your book, Regular Joe, when I thought about Hush, because I know Mick hasn't read Regular Joe yet, but the idea is it's very much like it's in the style of noir. In a noir movie, like Maltese Falcon or whatnot, you hear what Humphrey Bogart's thinking as he's doing things. In Regular Joe, you hear what Joe is thinking as he's in a room, as far as like he's an invulnerable guy, and he realizes that if he can stand still and have all kinds of bullets come at him, and it won't mess him up. But however, if there's people behind him or around him, they could possibly die. So he has to figure out how to use his powers properly in that room to not get people killed. In Batman Hush, also in Long Halloween, some too, it's very much noir in which you hear how Batman thinks. So in Batman in Hush, when Batman's fighting Superman, you hear all the thought process as far as like, how do I fight this invulnerable guy who can move at the speed of light and not kill myself in the process? Yeah. Because there's a problem. He has like a ring, a kryptonite ring that he's punching him with. The problem is, every time he punches Superman, he's breaking his hand more and more. Yeah. So you hear he's like, I have one more punch in my hand before it goes to pieces. Yeah. And he's like, I can jump out of the way of his eye beams once before my ankle snap. It's like you hear all the things that Batman's thinking in the fight. So it's kind of so I see the influence that Hush had on your writing too. Well, yeah, and that's and that was something that I found very interesting when I was creating that character. And I've mentioned this before. I haven't mentioned in a while. I've written a novel, and it's called Regular Joe, and it's about an invulnerable guy. And one of the interesting things that I tried to do was I was like, okay, I have this invulnerable guy.
if I just plunk him in a situation, like that's not interesting.
No
like, you know, he just walks in, wrecks shop, and then wins the day. So how do I make that interesting? So I included, you know, the innocence and there's another character with him that is that kind of he has to constantly worry about and constantly be like, okay, I need to take care of this person or, you know, or protect this person. But this person keeps, you know, it's, you know, she doesn't want to be protected. Yeah. But yeah, so those are my influences. And yeah, so that was awesome. Thank you, Ray, for calling in. That was really great.
Ray, if you are yourself an aspiring writer, or even if you're not, the moral of the story is from Nick, Nate, and I is just that embrace your influences. It's encouraged for you to stand on the shoulders of those before you and build from there. Learn from their mistakes or learn from their successes and help forge your own path, essentially. And obviously, Nick is a huge fan of sci-fi and Philip K. Dick and other amazing writers and whatnot in sci-fi, and that's what's helped him make his own story or stories. Nate loves all kinds of things involving all various artists in the world of comic books and graphic novels and TV, and I'm the same way. So we wouldn't be here where we are right now in this room without having those influences. And so if you want to actually get going, embrace what you have.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that that wraps it up for today. I think we can put a pin in this one. So, Mick, what would you like to plug?
I knew you were going to ask me that question.
As he was looking at his chops, looking deep in your eyes.
The name of my graphic novel series is One. You can find One is ONE, and you can find some images that we've been posting on Instagram at One Graphic Novel. On Instagram. So ONE graphic novel, all one word, on Instagram. Check us out. Check out the artwork. Archer Doherty is my artist. She lives in New Mexico. Maybe we'll have her on the show one of these years.
Oh, that'd be great.
Do you have Archer's Instagram?
I don't.
Okay, that's fine.
She'll have to pay for that.
Well, we can plug that in. If you find it, just send it to me and I can plunk it in.
I have it. I just can't think of it off the top. So.
That's fine. Okay, so Ethan, would you like to plug yourself?
Of course. As I said before, I have a date tomorrow, but odds are that won't happen. So I'm self-proclaiming myself tonight. So here's the thing. You open that door. You can't close it when you can't close it after it's been open. All kinds of bugs fly in there.
Yes. I'm still here.
Oh, Mick, how are you? My gosh. Are my pants on? So I would like to plug, again, Bricks Pizza. They have a buy one, get one free after 10 o'clock. We exploit that to pieces. And there are lots of lovely women there. For some reason, they haven't kicked us out yet. And I'd also like to plug echelonGnovels.com. It's the website that all three of us are featured on. Mixed Trailers, actually, there's a whole section for the videos that Mick has cut. All the trailers, if you want to see his work, he's done I think over a dozen of them, but at least 5 or so are featured on that site. Check them out there. And also we have an Instagram, Echelon G Novels. Is the Instagram. You can find us there. And our podcast Instagram is CIP Podcast. I've been trying to put upload a few more things than usual on there. It's growing. We have 60 followers now because I finally started doing something. But it'll get more. On there. Nate, father of 2, proud Christian taxpayer.
Yes.
Is there anything that you'd like to plug?
Myself.
Bastard. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I'm going to plug myself. You can find me at nathanbeattyvo.com. You can email me at nathanbeattyvo.com. Excuse me. You can find my website at www.nathanbeattyvo.com. You can find more information on the podcast at echelonGnovels.com/CIP. You can also sign up for our newsletter there. So we're looking to try to get a newsletter out in the May, June-ish time. And you can call us like Ray did. Yay! You can call us at 434-481-1787. Again, that's 434-481-1787. You can leave us a voicemail. We'll play it here on the podcast. Or you can just call and say hi and tell us that you like listening to our voice. If it comes out the voice, it's Nate's voice. They're going to get Nate's voice. Let's be honest. But you can email the podcast directly at creativityandprogresspodcast@gmail.com. And you can also donate. You can go to patreon.com/creativityandprogresspodcast. We're going to be getting onto YouTube very soon. In fact, this episode, there's going to be a little bit of extra on that from this episode, and that should be posted soon. So we will let let you know, keep you all about that. You can find us on Facebook at Creativity in Progress. And our intro and outro music is the song Amigos by Platinum Butterfly.
After 25 episodes, you remembered. It only took a quarter of a century of episodes.
Yes. Copyright 2015, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. You can find more of their stuff at dig.ccmixter.org, featuring Clarence Simpson and Susan Ooze Oz. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and y'all have a wonderful day.
Clarence Thomas.
Ethan, I hear you like anime. What's that about?
Oh, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's great.